first so I have that. Okay, we're going to connect. Welcome to today's show, brought to you by HDI Local Chapters. HDI Local Chapters is the organization where brings people together in the IT service management and technical support communities. For more information on HDI, visit us at www.hdilocalchapters.org. I am your show host today, Tom Wilk, and this is the HDI Local Chapters weekly live stream show. Today's episode is called Breaking the Rules in IT, and our guest today is Brennan. So let's see, got you, Ben? There we go. All right,
Yep.
so Ben is a personal friend of mine who I met through the HDI local community at a conference. We were both, I think it was both our first time speaking. Ben is the co-founder and CEO of QStack and the author of one of my favorite books, Badass IT Support. So welcome, Ben, to the show. You are our first guest for our inaugural show.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here. I would prefer you say that we were best friends, but I guess that's not the case. So I'll take good friend. I'll take that.
If you consider me your best friend, I'm good with that, man. I love that. So Ben, this is our first show, and basically just to let the community out there know that this is about bringing technology people together, and it could be things like in workplace, in education. It can be just anything and everything. And we're going to have a couple episodes where we do a little bit of smackdown where we bring people in to talk about competing thoughts and ideas. But for today's show, and by the way, we're trying to keep these shows a little bit short, so we're going to do it about 12 to 15 minutes. I did start my timer. And so Ben, let's start this off by me asking you, we said the title of the show was Breaking the Rules in IT. So what does that really mean to you, breaking the rules? I mean, I know from reading just the title of your book alone and reading it, I know you're a bit of a rule breaker, but for a lot of good reasons, and it did a lot of good things.
Yeah, I mean, in my head, it's not so much setting out to break the rules. I think it's more of like, I set out to do the right thing. And very often that means breaking rules, and I'm totally okay with that. So I think, focus on doing the right thing. But if you're like me and you've tried to do the right thing, especially in corporate America or IT, you have to break rules to actually do the right thing, especially like for the employee or the customer. So it starts with the right thing, but I'm not afraid to break rules either. It's actually a lot of fun sometimes.
I agree. I think one of the things people, I guess I'm kind of famous for in my little community of saying is like, and I don't want to quote because it's a live show, I won't quote the actual commercial, but I have this leather helmet mentality thing. I think breaking the rules for me is not doing the same thing we did just because that's the way we've always done things. I mean, I work at a higher education institution. We love to be the same thing forever and ever. But, for me, it's like, take off the leather helmet. We're not playing football in the 1940s anymore. We're playing and you got to keep up with the times and play the game the way the game needs to be played, right?
I love it, man. And I love talking to people from Pittsburgh because it's always analogies. I love it.
Right. So we just said that the title of the show was Breaking Rules in IT, but, don't you think that's kind of a dangerous recommendation for IT professionals? I mean, look, say I'm a help desk person, and are you telling me to come in and just start breaking policies and procedures and rules? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. So, I'll give an example. And again, I was thinking about this today, actually, literally when you were doing the introduction is when I thought about the breaking the rules thing. And it really is doing the right thing even when you break the rules. And obviously, like, if you're just coming in to break the rules, you can do that on your own time. You don't want to do that with the network. You don't want to make changes to the network. But my buddy is an amazing example. I actually hired him, but before I hired him, he was an Apple genius on the Eastern Seaboard. And I don't know if you remember your Mac guy back then, but it was my first Mac, that white plastic MacBook. It was like the first Intel one. Do you remember that one?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So if anyone was in an IT at a Mac shop, you remember that those things broke because there was a little crappy piece of plastic. They cracked constantly. And if you're like me and sweat, like they got all brown and gross. So it was like at that year when that came out, it was the #1 repair in the Apple store. And, Apple, if anyone was a genius out there in the crowd, like Apple has very strict rules. You got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And so all these people were bringing in their shiny new white MacBooks, and, they collected them all. And then overnight they had like the guys come in and just crank out repairs. And then, someone would get their computer in like 1, 2, 3 days, right? So it was a long time. And Tim, being the ridiculous person that he is, and that's why I hired him, he felt the right thing to do was to fix it faster, because people should not have to go 3 days without their new shiny computer. So without asking anyone, he's like, okay, everyone gather around. Why don't we just like go fix these in the back real quick? It takes 3 minutes to do if we got the really fast guy doing it. We'll bring it back in our 15-minute little genius fire appointment, and we'll fix it same day. Boom. So we did it. Bam. Everyone gets their computers the first day. Word gets out that you can get your computer fixed the first day, because everyone with a Mac, it was breaking or getting gross or whatever. And so everyone started coming in, and then he got cocky, which cocky is kind of one and the same thing, but it can be a little dangerous. But in his case, it worked. And he's like, yeah, let's just go. Let's just fix it out right in front of them. So instead of bringing it back with the anti-static wrist guard and whatever, he would just fix things right in front of them. And they were almost like, he described it like that movie Cocktail, if you're old enough to remember that, with the bartenders. And he was just like, it was like a party. People came in and they opened that up. They've got the little, Pentaloo, whatever, screwdrivers. They're opening up a Mac. You get to see, if you'd never seen a Mac motherboard compared to like a PC or something, it was like amazing. It was all like engineered and designed and everything else like that. So he fixed it right there. People were loving it. And not only did they I think he told me the volume was the highest repairs of any Apple store in the country. But not only that, their turnaround time, obviously, because it was 3 times as fast, was the highest. And their NPS score, which is how Apple measured customer happiness, flew through the roof so much that they flew him to Cupertino, not to congratulate him, but to say, accuse him of cheating, basically, and say like, listen, there's something wrong with our system. How are you able to cheat? And he told them about it. And to Apple's credit, this is a fireable offense. Like Apple, if you told them you were breaking their policies repeatedly, I mean, they're very hardcore, but they thought about it and they were like, this is amazing. And they actually rewrote the book and had everyone do this. And they made him a trainer and he went up and down. But it just shows you that he did the right thing. He didn't come in and say, oh, let's go smoke cigarettes while we're fixing computers. He was like, dude, you know what we should do? Let's make an amazing experience for our customers. And I think ultimately that's it. These days people want experience, not process, So if you have to break ITIL procedure or whatever to provide an amazing experience, that's probably the right thing to do. But anyways, I ended up hiring him and he continued to break rules to this day. And I love him to death. So that's an example.
Yeah, no, and I think I have a similar, I remember reading an article, and believe it or not, it was back in the paper edition of the Reader's Digest. I read an article about I think it was a CIO or a director of IT. He was challenging his people to, I guess you would call it breaking the rules, as you're talking about, to be innovative and creative. And he basically gave them we're making this a family-friendly show, so I'll say he just gave them a I messed up card, and he told them to use it, and they had to use 2 of them a year. And basically, it was like you said, it wasn't like go and rip everything out of the network closet just to see what would happen, but it was try to be innovative and breaking those quote rules and of the normal stuff. So Ben, you mentioned something about the experience, and you and I have talked about the need for a degree, but and we do know that many IT positions do require technical people to have some kind of degree, whether it's an associate's, a bachelor's, a master's. But even when you do get those, why is it that some people just feel like they just don't, they're not trusted enough to break those rules, to be innovative?
Well, yeah, I think that's I think I know what you're getting at, which is hilarious. The fact that Google already disproved it a long time ago that hiring people from Stanford or certain degrees necessarily resulted in success, especially in IT support. There's no evidence of that, but yet a lot of companies continue to hire people that have to have a bachelor's or sometimes master's preferred for a help desk. So what happens is, again, because it's a stupid rule, and I'm going to try to be friendly too, but I want to say a darn stupid rule. Because of the stupid rule, you get people doing the wrong thing. So we had to hire, I've been at companies like that. We had to hire a bunch of people that are have a master's degree in art history or a master's degree. Usually it was a history major, but a master's degree in some kind of history, who couldn't get a job. And so we brought him on there. And then what do we do with these level 1 help desk guys? We don't give them the permissions they need to do their job. And so we give them stuff that should be automated anyways. And so the ultimate irony, instead of hiring someone that's self-taught in IT that, could easily run the whole network, you hire a bunch of art history majors with a master's degree, bring them in, and then you don't even trust them. You demand that they have a degree, and then you don't even trust them to be able to do the right thing for the end user, for the customer. So you have all these bad experiences because they're like, hey, can you fix this for me? They're like, I can, but I don't have permissions. I'm not allowed to. So I'm just going to escalate you to 3 or 4 or 5 more people. And eventually you'll get to someone who can click, access permissions for your Salesforce. So it'll be about 7 hours before you get, so it's just again, do the right thing, even if it means breaking the rules. And if it means breaking the rules, that means IT broke the rules by putting a stupid process in that was not right for the people we came to support. So I think it's only fair we break those rules right back. But what do you think, dude? You were smarter than me.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. But I think it really comes down. Wouldn't you agree that it's at least the experiences I've had and kind of in places I've been, it comes down to control. The people want control. They and I know that I asked that. So I know I shared a story with Ben. I'll share here. I had a person I worked with that he was a manager of the network team, and he was complaining about, users on the network. And I said to him, hey, bud, let me guess, the perfect network to you would be a network full of objects and computers and printers with no users on it, right? It just come down to that. And it was so funny, but it seemed and so I asked him, I said, so why don't you let your people do some of this work, Ben? It was just like you said, they were network admins, right? And he wouldn't let them do certain things. And he says, well, I'm afraid they might mess up. And I'm like, well, but if they mess up, at least they learn, right? These people were smart enough and educated enough to know not to burn down the network. They're not going to move a directory out of the, to another forest. It's just crazy. So,
or if I can interrupt you and say another idea, if they have a master's degree already, you could probably teach them how to safely make changes on the network. Right?
Absolutely. Right? That's exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah, they're too dangerous on the network.
Yeah.
Maybe write a document and train them. It's not, you learned it, you idiot.
Yeah, exactly. And in the result, this person ended up working literally 14-hour days because of it, and his people just would go home and, and things. So Ben, we're down to our last minute. Believe it or not, we're already down to our last minute.
I know.
So
afterwards?
Give me some closing thoughts or closing remarks for this breaking the rules of IT.
Listen, here's the deal. IT is broken, and the rules we have are broken. 70%, according to McKinsey, of digital transformation efforts fail, wasting $1.2 trillion. So if you see a rule that doesn't seem like the right thing, it very well might not be. Don't be afraid to break the rules, but also use your head. And at the end of the day, focus on experience. And if you provide a badass experience to, the people that you're there to support, you're probably doing the right thing. Use your head, but that's all I got, Tom.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that concludes today's show. I cannot believe it's over that fast, but there goes my timer, right? So I would like to thank all of our guests, especially people out there like Terry and Brandon. You know who you are out there, that supported us on to getting this going. And I would encourage you to learn more about HDI Local Chapters. Go visit our website, hdilocalchapters.org. And and we're always looking for ideas and people to to be on the show. So Ben, I'd like to thank you once again for being our and I'm glad this one went better than that last meeting we had a month ago, for our chapter meeting. But again, I'd like to thank you, and we'll keep in touch.
It's so good to hear your voice, man. I'll talk to you very soon.
All
Take care.
righty.